The topic I want to get into today is the whole border crisis situation, which I guess is a big topic in the news, other than a few other unfortunate events that are occurring. But I think, first of all, it's pretty clear cut that in spite of attempts at denial and deflection by the Biden administration, it's pretty clear cut that, in fact, this is a completely the responsibility of the Biden administration for causing it. I mean, he basically called for them to storm the border during his campaign. And let's face it, it's also the fact that by dismantling all the mechanisms that President Trump put in place, along with these comments he made, it was pretty obvious what the result would be. So there should be no denials or no credit given to the Biden administration on this, unless you want to say that it's a good thing that we're being flooded with illegal immigrants on a massive scale. And so I think, first of all, I think that's one thing we need to get out of the way just from the outset. It's also a problem at the moment. There's very little that anybody can do about it because since the administration is in charge, the Democrats have control of both chambers of Congress. It doesn't seem to me that there's a lot of practical things that can be done by anybody for the next 4 years probably to do anything about it, which really means that I made an estimate that we might be getting up to 6 million people during that time. And many of whom will be relatively untraceable. The idea that's being put out that this is in any way humanitarian is absurd, which I'll explain shortly. First of all, I'll mention that remember to subscribe to this video if you're on YouTube and forward links to people anyhow. I'd like to get as many followers as possible, and I'd be interested in any comments you might have. So let's get on with this. I don't think that's the problem we're in at the moment. It's difficult to control even when you have a pro-border control president like Donald Trump in charge. Even he had a fit dealing with it, with all the court challenges and just the existing laws that are in place, which are really poor, and the fact that you have all sorts of outfits that are basically supposedly humanitarian, like Catholic Charities, which are actually facilitating this whole thing. I mean, it's one of those sort of things that a little bit of friendly now is a lot of unfriendly later. I mean, this is empowering these massive cartels that are making lots of money off of this. And as I understand it now, we're actually getting the people into involuntary servitude because they're sort of put in a place where they sort of owe the cartels money. And when they get whatever kind of illegal jobs they get here, they're supposed to wire the money back to the cartel so that they can get their money, and things of that sort are going on. Plus, a lot of these young people are probably being put into all sorts of illegal child labor situations. The girls are being pushed into prostitution and things of that sort. In many instances, not all, but in many instances. So this is, and obviously we don't have the facilities to deal with this level of influx. In fact, I kind of question exactly where are all these people going to. I mean, okay, you're 15, 16, 17 years old. You don't have much of an education. You don't speak English. And you're released into the United States. Where do you go? What do you do? I mean, if I was in that situation, having full fluency in the language and anything else, and simply turned loose with little of nothing, I'm not sure what I would do. I mean, it just seems like this is going to lead to a lot of criminal activity also, simply out of desperation. It's one thing if they're taken in at a level that there's some chance for them to kind of integrate into the system in some way. But when they're at the level which I think that whatever is available to support them will get will overflow rather quickly. And that's why I think this is going to lead to some bad things. Plus, as I understand, by not checking people, a large number of criminals are probably slipping through the cracks and getting back in the country, people that were deported previously and gang members and the like. I mean, this is a complete meltdown of any common sense. So what can be done? Well, The only thing I think that can be done at this point, that at least was within the law, I would suggest that everybody, particularly those who have, well, Republican or Democrat, but particularly the Democrats, get on the Democrats' cases about this subject and insist that they put an end to it. I mean, I think that we need to have them convinced that they're going to lose the next election unless they stop this. Now, there's also a few stray Republicans in this mess who are kind of, we recently had a bill. There was about 7 Republicans, I think, that voted for the actual Dreamer amnesty bill. I think it was something like that. But there was something like 30 that voted for this farm laborer thing, which basically has illegal immigrants that have been here working farm labor for up to 180 days or something over a 2-year period can get some sort of I think it's a work permit. I don't think it's a path to citizenship, but it's like a right to stay or something of that sort. So that is very disappointing to have 30 Republicans vote for it. I mean, you can probably figure out that most of them are from farm-oriented states and so forth. I noticed that Nunes voted for it, and when I saw that, I immediately went, "Oh, I get it." So, I mean, it's a farm vote thing, and they want the farm labor, and with all these kind of corporate farms that are out there, back when we had the family farm as a primary source of food, you wouldn't really have this situation. But since the family farm has declined so greatly, now the corporate farm basically wants to hire these people up to work on the farms, and particularly certain labor-intensive areas like, I guess, vineyards and, I don't know, lettuce and certain types of produce are labor intensive, and they want to go ahead and do this sort of thing. On that, I personally think that if we actually need those individuals to do that kind of work, I would think it'd be better to have some kind of a controlled guest worker program where they could simply, be registered, photographed, ID'd, and brought and bussed in, to those areas during the season that they're needed, and then bust back out at the end with a nice load of cash with them, and not having to pay the coyotes and stuff to get them into the country. I think that would be a much better system than having them come in illegally to do that. But at any rate, because after all, people are going to get, if they get assimilated into the country, they're going to immediately want to get out of that line of work, and of course that means the next group has to come in, and the group after that. So it would be better to have a formalized guest worker system, because if you can't find domestic labor to do those jobs, and that's debatable. I think the answer is obviously you probably can't get it at the work level and for the money that you could get foreigners. That's for sure. So in that case, I would say that the solution I've suggested would be the better way to go on it than legalizing the illegal. That's kind of my basic thought on that one. But for the moment, I think about all we can do is just raise hell about it with members of Congress, and particularly Democrats. My thinking is that the Republicans, let's put it this way, will go along with it to a degree, a very few Republicans actually. But Republican control of the body is the most important thing, more than the failings of an individual person. I mean, after all, you name a few of these so-called rhinos. If they didn't exist and were replaced by Democrats, guess what? The Democrats would be free to do just about anything they wanted. The fact of the matter that there is an organized resistance to them, even if some of the people aren't really the big resistors, is still important. That's something I still tend to think people don't fully seem to grasp, is the organizational aspects of politics more than the individual aspects. So anyway, I just want to kind of get on this subject. I think that we need to become more politically, let's say, get used to calling and emailing members of Congress and senators and letting them know what we think. There's also, on the immigration issue, there is an organization called Numbers USA. And I think numbersusa.org, I think, is the email address, and I'll put that link in that below. But that's something one can get involved in, and they generally have things when bills come up where you can easily email members of Congress about your positions on certain things, and you can also write your own comments if you want to, and so forth. Okay, I think that's about it for now, but I think that this is a big issue, and of course, we know what's really at foot here. The Democrats are trying to basically change the demographics of the country in order to get more potential long-term Democrat voters and get more people in public assistance programs so they'll be dependent and feel like they need to vote Democrat in order to maintain their money and support. Well, anyway, that's it for today, and I will close this for now. Until next time.